Reuters released an article saying that the CCIV Lucid Motors merger could happen later this month, and this shot the stock price up by 31%. Reuters reported that this deal would value Lucid at $12 billion, and the market responded accordingly. We can see right here, right now, just the SPAC is valued at $13.6 billion. Okay, and I mean, it's down a bit, only 1% after hours, so that's still a very crazy move in Lucid. Okay, and for those of you who don't know, Lucid is an electric vehicle luxury manufacturer. You can see this is their Lucid Air, which starts at 77,000 US dollars. Okay, it looks like a very, very neat car. And the CEO recently did an interview and took a tour around the plant, the Lucid Motors plant. And it's looking very exciting, and they have some of their foundational plant built in already, and they're ready for production mode. Okay, so there's a lot of hype over this stock, and I'm going to talk about what my price point is of Lucid once the merger is actually announced. Okay, so before we get into that, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so again, let's just go over the details of the merger first. So first off, Reuters is a pretty top tier source regarding rumors. So there are a few important details in the Reuters article. It talks about a 1 to 1.5 billion concurrent pipe transaction. And so details like this increase the odds that the talks are quite far along, okay? Because when you talk about pipe investors and having a deal of 1 to 1.5 billion, that means that they're talking about the nitty-gritty details, basically. So the article also states that Lucid and Klein agreed on the key terms of the deal, and Klein is the guy that's behind the CCIV SPAC. According to the sources, there's also mention of a timeline, as our article says, a deal could be announced as early as this month. A more exact timeline would be better, but it's something. The article speaks of sources, which is probably standard for Reuters. The specificity of the details add to my confidence, but he has trouble in buying it at $50. But I mean, I think this could even be relatively cheap once the news of the merger actually happens. Because if we see a move of 30% just on a news article saying that the merger could be announced later this month, imagine what happens and what type of move is going to happen once the merger is actually announced. Okay, on the flip side, if the merger doesn't go through, that could, of course, make CCIV drop like a rock. Okay, because this CCIV started out at $10 a share. Okay, it started at $10 a share. Let's just do 6 months. You know, it was $10 a share for the longest time, and then it went up by over 400% to $52.70. Okay, so that's an unprecedented move. Okay, even over the past month, it went from $18 when I got in to like $52. So more than doubled since literally a month ago. Okay, so let's just go again over the details. With another 1.5 in pipe, my latest podcast guest, the SPAC King, talks about this more in depth, which takes place at $10, etc., etc. In my most recent CCIV article, I discussed the LA Times article that claims the deal is near completion. But 3 weeks later, Reuters said it could close before the end of the month. So again, that's pretty exciting. It's not nearly as exciting. Okay, so he talks about warrants here. I'll look stupid if a deal comes to fruition this week and it blows past 50, but I always like to think in a range of possible outcomes. It's possible it goes down on a deal that heavily favors Lucid Motors, and you could argue that they've had a lot of leverage given how the market started valuing CCIV. There's so many other interesting SPACs that could do wildly interesting deals. Okay, so overall, this puts Lucid at, again, a $12 billion valuation with 1.5 billion in pipe investor money, which is pretty exciting. But one thing I will say, that if the Lucid valuation is $12 billion, I think a lot of people don't understand that right now. This doesn't represent the current valuation of CCIV. Because what happens with SPACs is actually that SPACs take only a fractional portion of the shares of the ownership of the actual company once it starts trading on the market. Because right now, CCIV is a blank check company. That's what a SPAC is. And basically what happens when the deal goes through is, once they're negotiating the deal, part of the negotiation is how much ownership CCIV investors will have out of the whole Lucid Motors market. Okay, so if the whole if Lucid Motors itself, like the whole company, is valued at $12 billion, and right now CCIV, based on recent videos on SPACs that I've did, SPACs technically or usually own about like 20 to 30%. 30% is really pushing it of the company once it goes public. So even let's say it owns 25% of the deal. Okay, this SPAC owns 25% of the overall outstanding shares once Lucid goes public. This would still value Lucid Motors at, like, if you double this by 4, by like $52 billion. Okay, right at the outset as of right now. Okay, and so that's not cheap. Okay, it's not expensive, but it's not cheap considering that they're valuing CCIV at $12 billion right now, and typically SPACs get about 25% ownership in the company once it starts trading public. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. However, we have to see that big names are buying up CCIV. Okay, so if you look here, Goldman Sachs owns 781,000 shares. J.P. Morgan Chase. There's a lot of Citigroup, Periscope Capital, a lot of big names buying into CCIV. Okay, I can link this website here down in the bottom of my channel so you can check out the institutional ownership in CCIV. Okay, and I recently did a poll on my YouTube channel. So after this 30% rise, which is just on the news, on the Reuters report that CCIV and Lucid are nearing the end of the negotiation, what is your price prediction after or if the merger is announced? Okay, so personally, I think, and this at the end of the day, I think the stock will be $100 or above. Okay, so I'd place my bets maybe either 80 to 120 or 120 to 150. So far, 5 people voted. One person thinks it's going to be $60 to $80. 2 people think it's going to be 80 to 120, and 2 people think it's going to be over $150. So there's a lot of extreme optimism regarding CCIV right now. Okay, so take that into consideration when considering buying this stock at, like, $52. Okay, and one last thing, it looks like when we're looking at the technicals, of course, the RSI is way out of whack, sitting at 85. That's like way into overbought territory. But however, if you look at, of course, the MACD, it shows, which is in the black line, it's at 7 right now. So extreme uptrend. So sometimes when you're talking about SPACs, technicals can kind of get thrown out the window. Okay, but this is still a very, very bullish sign that the MACD is sloping upwards. However, it is pretty much in overbought territory. Okay, so I'm still holding my shares, but I could see a pullback unless the merger gets announced, like sometime this week or sometime next week, which I guess it should if it's going to be at the end of the month. But I could see some consolidation happening. And I mean, -1% is not much of a consolidation, especially after 31% move. So a lot of investors are buying and also holding this stock. And that's what I'm going to be doing despite my nice 183% gain. Right now I'm up $920 US. I only have 27 shares because that's what I felt comfortable with regarding the risk reward valuation. But yeah, let me know what you think. Please be sure to, of course, give this video a thumbs up and a subscription if you haven't already subscribed. Take care. Let me know what you think about the Lucid CCIV deal. Feel free to comment in the polls here. Take care and have a fantastic day, everyone.